a friend of mine actually was like telling me, you've got to try this breathwork detox thing. I got certified in, and I'm like, I know how to breathe. And I'm like, that's literally what I was thinking. I didn't say that to her, but I'm like, I
Totally.
will sometime. I will sometime. And honestly, I just kept brushing her off. And it was funny because I would post on my Instagram story different yoga classes I was going to. And she's like, if you love yoga, you really got to try this breathwork detox.
This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Grounded in Maine podcast is an open conversation about how we show up for the world. I started this podcast out of a desire to learn new ways to be sustainable because the word sustainability is big. It can be overwhelming, and I just wanted to learn, different ways to try to be part of the solution and not feel like it's too late. So I'm talking to people who are doing different things and learning so much. I hope you are too. Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan, and my guest today is Amanda Russo. Amanda, I met January-ish and actually met in person at a New England podcasters meeting. But Amanda's specialty is breathwork, and I know I had Brenda Winkle on last year or the year before, and she was talking about breath work. But I think that getting different views is really interesting, and I really like the way that I love Amanda's her passion for it, I guess. And I've set myself up for a breathwork session with her. It has not happened yet. I just finished her application process, but I just love. I'm so curious about it. I'm so fascinated by breathwork and how healing it can be, and I'm learning all these different modalities and ways to heal the body that are not mainstream, and I'm just very curious to see how effective this is. And just Amanda's stories are so intriguing. And so anyway, as far as sustainability, like just keeping our souls, our spirits solid and healed so that we can go on. So I just really enjoyed this. Amanda is also a trip. She is younger, but she's done a lot of stuff, and she is not afraid to do anything, which I'm a big fan of that. But anyway, so I hope that you enjoy this episode, this conversation with Amanda. She is always game to do a breathwork session with anyone. So definitely check it out if you are interested in something like that. So I'm going to get to Amanda. I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you have an awesome week. Today, my guest is Amanda Russo. Amanda is a friend of mine from podcasting. She has her own podcast. She's also part of the New England podcasters group that we gather because we're regional. And Amanda does all kinds of cool things, and what her specialty is breath work, which is something I know a little bit about, but not enough to sound smart. So So Amanda's going to talk to us about that. So thank you so much for being here, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And so breath work is clearly not what a lot of people think of it as. I assume that it's just like grounding yourself in like a steady breath, like a slow, steady breath. And that's what I assumed it was. And I think that's wrong.
So there's different types of breath work. Breath work is basically the umbrella term. There's a lot of different types, from holotropic to transformational breath work to Wim Hof breath work to what I facilitate is breath work detox. And it's a 3-part conscious connected breath. And you're laying on your back the whole time, your mouth is wide open, and you are breathing into your belly, into your chest, and just releasing it. And it's a really great way to detox mentally, physically, and emotionally. It's a full body detox.
That sounds amazing.
It is. No, it really is.
I mean, that just, it sounds like, it sounds easy, but also I'm sure there's some feelings that come up while you're detoxing.
Yeah. So it's not, I would say it's simple, but again, it's called breath work because you are putting in work. So it's not like meditating. It's similar to meditating, but it's different in terms of you're not slowly breathing in and slowly breathing out. You're not pausing. There's no pause. And the beginning of it, it's not enjoyable. Like we say, the first 8 to 10 minutes, you don't want to be doing breath work. It's not fun, and it's called work for a reason. Just because you are filling your body up with oxygenating your body, and emotions are going to come up, physical symptoms are going to come up because this is not something you're doing. You're not breathing this way normally in everyday life, so your body's not used to it either.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah, I just heard on, I think it was Hillary Russo was just talking about not breath work per se, but uh, she was doing a podcast about sleep, and she was talking about the fact that she was just diagnosed with sleep apnea. And it sounded to me like the person that she was interviewing was saying, her guest was saying that it's not a great idea to do the CPAP, which is what is typically recommended for sleep apnea. Um, and I assume it's because she thinks that the body should be breathing on its own and doing the work on its own, whereas the CPAP will like shove air into your mouth and regularly so that that you have that air, because the whole thing about sleep apnea is that you stop breathing, which is not good for your heart and the rest of your
Yeah.
body. And so I thought it was really interesting that that lady said that. Um, and I don't have anything to back anything up because I have sleep apnea and I use the CPAP, but I get a lot of air that I apparently didn't get before.
And I didn't hear that episode, but wow, that's interesting that she said she didn't recommend that.
I mean, I don't know that she necessarily said that, but that was kind of the feeling, like um the attitude, is that the right word? That was
The
kind of the
vibe.
feeling that yeah, that was the vibe that I was getting from that. Um, just saying, maybe try something else before the CPAP or something like that. But interesting. But so we're going to get a lot of air in our bodies, which is necessary, very helpful.
Yep.
Nobody likes air. And so you're laying on the floor. And so what's the significance to that?
I mean, you could do it sitting up, but you would want to be at least leaned back because of how you are oxygenating your body. You're not you're not going to be able to do it the same way and fill up your lungs as well, if
Okay.
that makes sense.
It's like the placement
Yep.
of
Yep.
the
That's
body to
also
expand.
why like your mouth is open the whole time,
Interesting.
the whole time. And how we judge it is you're going to take 2 knuckles and you're going to stick them in your mouth. So it's not a comfortable. It's we say wider than what feels comfortable. Basically, you look like a blow up doll. If you look like that, you're doing it right.
Ah,
Yes.
that's awesome. Okay.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Um, all right. So, and what what are the benefits?
There's a lot of benefits. honestly, everybody receives something different from breathwork, which is, it's always so interesting to me. You get what you need from it, is honestly what I say. And I've seen everything from things in my own life, just gaining more clarity, gaining more confidence, from even bigger things from clients I've done it with. I had a woman who had rotator cuff surgery. She was going to physical therapy, was in a lot of pain, and I didn't know this prior. Like, she didn't tell me. Not that she has to, it's fine. Now, I did an in-person session with this group, so I was able to be more hands-on, like put my hands on their shoulders, on their belly. Like, I tell them beforehand, like, that I may do this only if I feel called to. Not necessarily everybody, but I had touched this woman's shoulders at one point, and she told me after the fact that she had the worst pain in her shoulders during this. It was worse than she's ever felt, and I was like, oh boy. Then it left her shoulders and it went to her knees. And after it left her knees, it left her body. And she hasn't had the pain since. She stopped going to physical therapy. She doesn't take medication as much as she used to, and she's doing breathwork. Oh. So, like, my own stories I think are great, but it's like I gained more confidence. This woman doesn't go to physical therapy anymore. So it really gives you what you need.
Right. Well, it's just that validation. Like, it feels, it works for you and that feels good. But if it actually works for other people, that's like validation. Yeah. Like, oh yes, this is a gift.
Yeah. It was, I've seen some different instances and different things people have told me that it's helped them work through. And honestly, some of it's been mind blowing to me, to be honest. It's crazy. I had a woman once who actually had a miscarriage, and during the breathwork session, she was having a tough time. Like, she was screaming very, very loudly. It almost sounded like she was being murdered, to be honest with you. Like, if you were to hear the screams and you weren't like in with us, it would be alarming. To the point where I even afterwards was like, we've got to talk, because I'm sure stuff came up for you. And she told me that she's like, I relived that. We went through the miscarriage, but she told me she was able to see and hold her baby. And I was like, oh, okay. And she felt like she healed that experience for herself. I still can't really explain that personally, but yeah, because it helps heal a lot of the trauma that's trapped in the body that we don't necessarily realize we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and I would also venture to say it doesn't sort of, almost like you get what you put into it somewhat, but and it doesn't matter for you what happened to her. Oh, I'm not going to find the right words for this. I had a thought when you were talking about her like going through it again and then being able to heal, like whatever it was, like she is I guess, however, I think you were saying you don't know how that happened. And that it just doesn't matter. The fact is that breathwork helped her to heal herself, which is unbelievable. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah. And
I can't wait for the session.
Yeah, it's some of the responses and what people have worked through is amazing. I actually did a virtual session recently, and one of the women who registered and went, I actually went to high school with her, and she sent me a message after, and she's like, I've been trying to work through stuff and process things with my therapist for the last year, and I haven't been able to let go of things, but I was really able to release things I never thought I'd be able to release during the session. And she's like, honestly, I didn't even think I would be able to. I was like, oh my God, okay.
Is that one session? Like one session and you have...
That woman, yeah. Because I've never done it with her before. And she's never done breathwork in general before. And she told me she was just leaning into the unknown because nothing else has been working for her. And that's honestly what she said to me.
Right. I
She
got
said, and
nothing.
I figured I'd support you. And I'm like, oh my God. And
And you
yeah,
supported her.
yep,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah.
I was thinking, when you were saying talking about the lady who had the miscarriage, like um that must have been like several sessions to like really get through stuff, but it can be that quick.
She only did one with me. Yeah. That was her first one with me. We did a second one after that because that was a retreat I hosted. Oh, I was the breathwork facilitator at that retreat. But yeah,
I mean, then that sounds like it's a lot of work. I mean,
yeah. So like a
it's
lot of
called work for a reason.
uh, yeah, a lot of things are gonna come up, and we even also say like emotions and feelings are gonna come up a lot for the next 72 hours. So we even say like they say don't be reaching out to any exes. I say don't try to solve any issues you've got with any relationships in your life right now. Breathwork is going to make you think you're going to solve all the family issues, all the relationship issues. No, wait. Like you are on this next level high. You're feeling great. Life's good. Not everybody else did breathwork like you did.
Right.
No, because like even after my first session, I remember thinking, I'm gonna fix this family issue I have. And then the woman had mentioned like don't reach out to exes, blah blah blah. And I'm like, do you think that means to even like the family members that I think I'm gonna fix my relationship with? And she goes, yes, yes, that's what that means.
Definitely.
Because like a lot of feelings are coming up. Journal on it. Like if you still want to say what you were gonna say after 72 hours, go for it. But you might not get the response you're thinking you're gonna get.
Hmm. Right. Right. Well, because they haven't done that work as well. They're not in the same place. Sure. Okay. Well, so and you mentioned when you first started. So can you how did that happen? Like how did you end up doing breath work? And how long has it been?
So breath work in general. Oh, yeah. So the first time I ever actually did breath work was in 2022 when I went to an ayahuasca ceremony.
Okay.
And it was a different type of breath work that I did there, but it was intense. It was really intense. Now, I had a comment said to me by an ex boyfriend that I didn't realize I had never released or let go of that comment. So I just kept rehearing that comment during this breathwork session, and I was able to cry it out and just let it go. So I was like, wow, okay. But that whole weekend was like a lot for me. Ayahuasca, breathwork, like it was my first time with everything. So
Right.
I stepped away from like all of that for a little bit. I'm like plant medicine, healing modalities. We're gonna chill because I'm like, whoa. Um,
Hmm.
so I was doing yoga, I was doing meditating, but I like wasn't into like the deep things like breathwork and like plant medicines. But then about now that was July of 22, and then a friend of mine actually was like telling me you've got to try this breathwork detox thing. I got certified in, and I'm like, I know how to breathe, and I'm like, that's literally what I was thinking. I didn't say that to her, but I'm like, I
Totally.
will sometime. I will sometime. And honestly, I just kept brushing her off. And it was funny because I would post on my Instagram story different yoga classes I was going to. And she's like, if you love yoga, you really got to try this breathwork detox. I'm like, bro, like, whatever. That,
Bro.
that's honestly what I was thinking. And it's so funny because fast forward to January, actually the anniversary of my grandma's passing rolled around, and I just didn't want to stay home. I literally just didn't want to wallow home in self pity. And she was hosting an in person session, and I was like, hey, I guess I'm going to go to this because what else am I doing? I'm going to sit home and I'm going to smoke some weed and I'm going to be sad. You know what? I'm going to go breathe. I don't even know what that means, but I'm going to go breathe. And it's funny because I called my mom on my way there, and I was like, I'm going to some breathwork class. She's like, what is that? I was like, I don't know. I'm going to meditate.
Apparently I'm breathing.
I was like, I'm going to meditate. She's like, for an hour and a half? And I was like, I don't know. Okay. I don't know. And I'll never forget, I called her after because even more so because of the day I was in contact with her. And so, and she's like, what did you really do? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you sound different. She goes, you didn't go breathe. It's like, Mom, what do you think I did? And she goes, you're not going to tell me. I'm like, she's probably thinking I actually did like a plant medicine or something because I sounded that different even in tone. She's like, I don't think you just breathed. And I was like, Mom. She goes, did you drink that stuff? And now by drinking the stuff, she meant ayahuasca.
Yep.
And I was like, no, Mom, I didn't drink the stuff. I didn't go somewhere like down the street and just drink ayahuasca.
Right.
But honestly, the biggest thing I experienced, biggest shift I experienced in my first session is I felt like I transformed my grief to gratitude because I looked at the whole situation with my grandmother in a whole different light. Like prior to it, I was just kind of wallowing in the this sucks. She could have lived longer. She passed at 70. I only had 15 years with her. And then after it, I was like, I only had 15 years with her, but I lived with her my whole life. None of my cousins did. Not to compare, but like they
Yeah.
didn't have the relationship that I had with her. I, you know, I was closer with her than so many people were. Granted, she only lived to 70, but she got to see me graduate eighth grade. It's not like she didn't see any. And my head was just thinking of, instead of she didn't see you graduate high school, you do have graduation pictures with her. It was like reframing every negative thought that I had about the situation prior to doing breathwork to after. And I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So do you go into breath work with an intention?
Yes. Usually, yes.
Okay. You're not just an empty vessel and like whatever is going to come is going to come.
So I go with an intention, but I do still allow whatever is going to come. Like I don't remember if my intention was that specific to I don't think it was, you know what I mean? Sometimes even the intention could be as simple as help me with whatever it is I need help with that I can't see, you know? It could be something as simple as that, but
Right.
some type of an intention.
Okay. All right. And so, ha, um, so you said breath work helps body, mind, and you, there are three areas that are affected by that, right?
Physically, mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
spiritually.
Three. Now it's four. Okay.
Sorry.
Um, that's okay. So physically, how does that affect you physically?
So again, it's different for everybody depending like their physical body, but even like the woman, now she did that session with me in February and I haven't spoken to her since June, but June she wasn't going to physical therapy still. So
So then
that's
is it the oxygen? Is it just it's the oxygen that just makes your body so
mhm.
happy? Feels
Yeah. So like the physical symptoms could be different depending the person. You know what I mean? So like I don't have rotator cuff or shoulder pain, so it doesn't help me with that. But different types of pain, it can help people heal physical pain.
amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And well, gosh, I wonder if there's anyone around here that does that. But I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be in person, right?
No, it doesn't. It could be virtual because even the woman that was able to process more than her therapy session with me, I've never done an in person session with her. I haven't even seen her in like 10 years in person.
Wow.
So, yeah. I mean, I like in person for the benefit of me being able to go hands on. No, I don't mean like physical, but like touching their stomach, touching their shoulders, just if intuitively I feel guided to, which is honestly always so interesting. Even the woman with the shoulder, I only touched one of her shoulders, and it was the shoulder that she had the rotator cuff.
Right.
Like, what are the intuitively I must have known, So I love in person for that benefit, but there's even like Reiki, you can get the Reiki benefits virtually.
So wild because it's also personal. And I would think that in real life, in person breathwork sessions, you'd be able to show some like support and that's the like the hands-on touching. You could be like, I'm here for you if
Yeah.
you need that, or maybe someone needs that hand on their shoulder or their knee or something, and that's where your intuition would come in, of course.
Yep.
And then so, whew, wow. I'm so excited to try this. I hope I do it right.
There's no way to do it wrong, honestly. And no, we even say that because the mind is going to say that to you, because throughout this process, now you are breathing like this for a while. So that's why we say like the first 8 to 10 minutes is the worst, because your mind is not used to breathing like this. It's going to tell you to stop. It's not going to want you to keep going. It's going to tell you you're doing it wrong, like even to get in your head. But the founder and the guy who trained me always says, if your mouth is wide open and you are breathing 2 breaths in, 1 breath out, you're not doing it wrong. You're not, you can't. There's no way to do it wrong unless you close your mouth and you stop breathing. Like that's the only way.
Right. Oh, wow. That's so interesting. And so this would be really good for, I'm just trying to like pin it to sustainability in a way, but, for like keeping your energy up or, functioning in the world. That's very vague, but, I would assume that with these transformations that could happen, there's like um, just like a different way of being in the world.
Yeah. And even by like sustaining our own well-being, we become more able to contribute to society, to the environment, to the world, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm. Okay. That's very cool. And then and I also want to touch on your awesome podcast. So Amanda is a podcaster. Her podcast is called Mander's Mindset. And it sounds like, I mean, well, why don't you tell us about Mander's Mindset? I don't
I'm,
want
I,
to do it.
I'm, it sounds like what? I'm curious what the end of the sentence
I
was.
know. I was just stuff up and I'm like, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Do you want me to
Yeah,
describe it?
go for it.
Okay. I actually started my podcast because of breathwork. Funnily enough, because I had never considered starting a podcast. It was not something I thought about, not something I don't know. But I'm a talker. I've always got something to say. And sometimes that's a blessing, sometimes that's a curse. When I went to the training for breathwork, I always had something to say, to the point where and this was my clue that I was like, maybe I should like zip it a little. One point, he had his back turned to us and he goes, now, before I answer what Amanda's got to say, anybody else got a question? And I'm like, oh, sorry. So even if it wasn't a question, I'd be raising my hand and I'd be like, he's right about this example because of, and I give a reason.
Right.
And yeah, so I said a lot, to the point where towards the end of the training, he was like, Manders, you should start a podcast. I've heard your voice more this week than I've heard anybody else's. And I was like, okay, I'll start a podcast, but you got to be a guest. He's like, okay, get to at least 10 episodes and I'll be a guest. I'm like, bet, I will. And that night I researched, how do you start a podcast? And the rest was history. A month later, I released my first episode, and here I am a year later. But yeah, I love to talk. I never thought about a podcast per se before, but past couple years, I would post videos on my Snapchat story, my Instagram story, just talking about things. And I had a friend who used to always tell me, you're like a motivational speaker. Like, you should send this to people. And I'm like people who even don't like you should hear this. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, you want me to like text my ex-boyfriend and be like, here's some motivation for you? Like, what does this mean? Like,
Right.
so I just didn't even have the idea of start a podcast. You know what I mean? So until it was said to me, like, I listened to them, but like, you can't just start a podcast. Well, apparently you can. Apparently you can. Yeah.
Same. Wow, that's really cool. And so you've done 1 year. How many episodes have you put out?
68.
More than one a week?
Yep.
Holy girl. And I know some of your episodes are really short and some of them are not. Is it just like whoever, it's just how it flows with whether it's by yourself or with a guest?
So I have some solo episodes. I've got some guest episodes. Some of my solo episodes I've even referred to as a quick word. So it's a quick version of me talking about something. I've got one on people pleasing. I've got one on preparing so you're prepared ahead. Different small little ones that people might find interesting. My guest ones are always longer. But again, with the guest ones, some are like 45 minutes, some are as long as an hour and 45 minutes. But I say to them, like, if conversation's flowing, if it's not, I aim for an hour. But if we're at 40 minutes and there's nothing else I have that I wanted to cover, or a topic, or something you wanted to talk about, I'm not going to drag this out for 20 more minutes.
Just because.
And the same concept goes, if we're deep in conversation, but we're at 55 minutes, the thing I hate most about podcasts is when I hear that phrase, oh, well, we're going to wrap things up here. Buddy, I want to come through my phone and punch that
That's
host.
getting good.
Like, the amount of frustration when I hear that, because I'm like, you could respond back to this guest with what they said, but instead you're like, oh, we're going to, bro, no. So if we're really flowing, I'm not going to cut you off. I'm not. We're going to keep going. So,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever it is, it is. That's cool. I love that because it's your intuition saying this is, there's no way I'm cutting this off because this is really good stuff. Why would I do that? So I totally appreciate that. But so what is your theme topic? What is tell me about the podcast?
So, called Mando's Mindset. Mando's is my nickname. Everybody's like, what does Mando's mean? My name's Amanda. Mando's is my nickname. And honestly, I thought Mando's Mindset, sounds good together. Mindset, people who have shifted internally based on something outside in their life, whether it was a physical transformation, health and fitness, maybe they transitioned careers, started their own business, there was a relationship shift. They've gone through some type of shift in their life, whatever that may be. In the process of that, who they became, the identity shifts they formed, and everything like that. And I've gone through a lot of internal shifts throughout my own life. Like, I'm pretty short, and I used to be almost 200 pounds, only 5 feet. So I lost a lot of weight. I went through a big transformation journey with that. I've done plant medicines, which have created different shifts in my life as well. So, and I just wanted to share some of my shifts. I knew different people that honestly I respected their shifts. It's funny because old school, back when I was in Utah at teacher training, I wasn't even using my phone, but I literally wrote down a list of people I knew in my current life that I would interview. 18 guests that I was like, these people I'm going to, yep.
Before you even started.
Yep.
Cool. That's very cool. I love that. I mean, just it's sort of open, but people that have had really big shifts in life and come out better on the other end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. And so let's see. I'm just thinking where to go next. But
I love it.
yeah. uh and so back to do you do breathwork sessions on your podcast?
No, I
No.
do not.
But the idea for a podcast came out in a breathwork.
When I went to get certified, so I went to Utah for like it was 5 days, I believe it was, to get certified in breathwork detox. So like I'm a certified facilitator. They taught us how to hold space. They taught even we learned so much that week.
Days.
But what was that?
5 days?
Yeah, and
Not a lot of time, but the it's
but
the
it was full days. So like we were doing stuff from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. most days. So when it's only 5 days, but it's like almost 5 full days. So yeah, and there were online things we did prior to getting there. So it was yeah. Um, and he even put us to different like I want to call them like mental resilient tests, for example. So
hmm,
we had to fill out this survey like prior to going, and one of the questions was if you were stranded on a deserted island and could only listen to one song, what would it be? Okay. So I picked Fight Song by Rachel Platten. Like I love that song. It's motivational, helped me start my fitness journey, whatever. Now I also know the song very, very well because when I get very into a song, I'm the type of person that I could listen to it all day. I'm one of them. So until I hate it.
right?
Anyways, then we had to dress up in costumes one day, Halloween costumes. Who knows why? Whatever. Well, lo and behold, these songs that we picked, we were gonna perform them and sing them on stage in these costumes in front of everybody. And no, you don't get to pick the order. We're picking. He's just picking names out of a hat. I was first, but
Wow.
I did great and I loved it. I had a blast.
Yeah,
Everybody was like, "How can we follow that?" I'm like, "Listen,
right?
I loved the song I was singing. I knew it pretty well, so I went into it confident as hell. And my costume, I thought was I really liked the costume I was in, so I I felt confident as hell. But there were even other different challenges that like really put you to the test. We had to go in this cave like thing. It was super late at night. We hiked down this cave. It was pitch black. We had like lights on our heads at one point. But once we all got down there, they took the lights. Then we were in the pitch black dark and we ran around randomly. Like he didn't say which order. People just went around and just started sharing what they considered to be their deepest, darkest secret or something they've never shared
Okay.
aloud before.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah. So there were different things. And it was interesting because you're in this huge cave. And even at different times, it's like, who is even saying this? You didn't even always know.
Right.
You couldn't even always tell.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we bottle so much in for years and years and years and years. And to the point where we forget what's even bottled up, right? Mm, wow.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Uh, and so let's see. All right. So, when I say this, the word sustainability, Amanda, what does that mean to you?
I would say it means creating a balance that allows people to live and thrive without depleting resources, externally and internally.
Cool. All right. I like that. And then, um, okay. So if somebody wants to do some breath work with you or listen to your podcast or, they want to find you online, how would they do that?
You can find me. Instagram is the place I'm most active. That is the Breathing Goddess. They can also reach out to me on my Linktree site as well.
Okay. All right. And that information will be in the show notes, you guys. But definitely, and I'm going to be doing a session with Amanda soon. So I will have some feedback. You can check with me and see what it's like. And then you can get yourself hooked up with her. And also check out Mandra's mindset and listen to what she's got to say, because there's always something, right?
Yes, I've always got something to say.
All right, cool. So I really appreciate this, Amanda. I love being able to tie sustainability into so many things. And they're just, it's more than just recycling um and composting and stuff like that. There's the whole like personal sustainability, which is sort of my focus this year more so. And this is a really good addition to that because my goodness, there's so much I'm really curious to find what might be I don't know. I haven't had a lot of luck with therapy either. So I'm curious about breath work, that's for sure.
I'm so excited for you to have your session.
Awesome. Is there any message that we neglected to touch on before closing up?
Any message? Ooh.
Anything.
I'll say this. Just become more aware of yourself, of your life, whether that's through breathwork, whether that's just through being more mindful, taking a deep breath before you make a decision, like before you do something heavy, like before you send that text that could upset somebody. Like take a deep breath. We'll also go, and it's not going to kill any of us to take a step back, take a breath, take a pause, and yeah.
Cool. I like that. Just slow down, take a breath, and think about it a little bit.
Yeah. We so often just react to life.
It's true. Awesome. All right.
Well, thank you for having me. I loved this.
Thank you, Amanda. This was awesome. I was not hesitant, but I was nervous about breath work before talking to you today. Just like I'm a little worried about what's going to come up, but at the same time, I'm sure it's going to be very freeing, and so it's just good information because it's not just breathing.
I will say you're not the only one who has that fear. You're not the only one. Because a lot of stuff does come up, and even stuff you might not expect to, but you got to feel it in order to heal it.
Ooh, that's really good. Oh, yeah, it is. Cool. All right. Very good. Well, thank you again, Amanda. This was super fun.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And I love all that you're doing. I love this so much.
I just want to take a second to thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I love having these conversations with folks. I also want to thank Buzzsprout for hosting the podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her music genius, for Becca Coffron and her award-winning artwork. And thank you for listening. I appreciate that so much. Please check out the show notes for any links and extra information. And if you would like to follow my guest and find out more about them, I'm sure they would love the follow. And if you don't mind leaving a rating or review wherever you're listening, and just help to get this podcast in front of new eyes, that would be amazing. I would really love that. And feel free to reach out to me on the socials and let me know what you're thinking. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please let me know that. I would love to have a conversation with you about sustainability. All right. Thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of the week.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love. and hold me. A heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound, yeah, to find me. We'll find a way to soothe the sickness. We'll heal the ache with sweet forgiveness. Wages of war will disappear. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? I wonder, how do I get there from here? Yeah, 'cause here now I'm so far down and mercy's bound, yeah, to find me. When that state of grace has finally found me, well, there'll be music, ooh, and good friends around me, yeah, yeah. And I'll just smile through happy tears and wonder,